Hello and welcome to episode 44 of the Critical Twits Gaming Podcast, the first in our new monthly series covering Netrunner, where we're going to be going from script kiddies to black hat hackers.
Hello, welcome back. This week I am kicking Brian out of the host seat to take over running Nets, I guess, and teaching you guys how to do it. So yes, we are the Critical Twits. My name is Joe Lewin.
I'm Aaron Vinsky.
I'm Brian Ennis, and we are joined by our fourth most secretive twit, who we've had to go and download from the internet, our Critical Twit Technical Officer.
Yes, I'm Jamie Myland.
Hello, your first ever podcast with us. But the first of many, hopefully.
Good to be here.
Yeah, so this week we are going to be exploring the vast world of Netrunner and starting our ongoing adventure.
Our journey.
Yes, into the tournament scene and across the nets.
That's brilliant, because the very last thing of the last podcast is you singing...
Don't stop believing.
I put it at the end because it made me laugh.
So what we're going to start off with this week is talking about what Netrunner actually is. It is a limited card game.
Nope.
No? Living card game. Begins with an L. So yeah, we're going to go over a brief history of what Netrunner is and what it's become. What we're actually doing with it as a group.
Playing it.
Yes, Aaron, but not badly by the end of it. We're going to talk about why we're doing it, where we're going to be playing, will be mentioned, and then talking through our first impressions, how you can get other people into the game, and other useful information this week.
Yep.
I believe. So we're going to hand over to our technical officer to go through a brief explanation of what it is and why the way it is.
Okay, well, what Netrunner was, it was a game released in the 90s, a card game, by Wizards of the Coast, and it was designed actually by Richard Garfield, who many of you may know as the designer of Magic the Gathering.
I remember commenting this early stage one massively as a kid.
Yeah, you really wanted.
We wanted to play that rather than Magic, but couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was actually in the Magic style. It was released as a CCG. Collectible card game with booster packs, and
Just think, should we differentiate for the listeners what between a CCG and an LCG?
Well, but yeah, collectible card games is where you buy a random pack of things, isn't it? And when we talked about Dice Masters, both Colin and I. Poor Colin, alas, I knew him well. We talked about why we don't tend to like that kind of thing, because there's luck involved, or you end up spending £50 on a single card.
Yes, exactly. So it was a CCG in the 90s that had moderate success and then was forgotten by the majority of the gaming community. Then I believe it was in 2012, Fantasy Flight Games acquired the rights to bring it back as an LCG. So instead of being a CCG, collectible card game, an LCG is a living card game. The main difference there being that rather than getting random booster packs, you're actually, you know exactly what you're getting in every pack that gets released.
Yeah.
So there's the standard core set of the game that gives you enough to get started and playing with, and then there's these regularly released packs, usually one a month for a 6-month cycle, where you will be able to go out and get the cards you want. Or you can become addicted like me and get all of them.
Your collection is something to behold. With his many boxes with all the bits of paper.
Something I currently aspire to.
Yes. I feel I might overtake you soon.
Well, you have so far.
Yeah.
But I think I'll catch you back up.
Yeah.
But the nice thing with this as well is that you get as many copies as you could use in a deck in these packs. So if you want the card X that comes in pack Y, you buy pack Y and you don't need to buy anything else. You've got all of the copies of that card and the other cards in that pack. Yeah, it's much, much better
Yes.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about that a little bit more.
First impressions.
What I think.
I was just going to say, and while we'll talk about later how Netrunner's mechanics are really quite interesting, it's also worth mentioning at this point the theme. Netrunner itself is a cyberpunk themed game. The original release, it was based on the Cyberpunk 2020 universe, where essentially one person would play as a corporation, and the other person playing against them would play as a runner. When the game was rethemed with the Fantasy Flight release, they actually decided to pick a different universe rather than the 2020 universe. They went with the Android universe, which was first sort of conceived in 2008. There was a board game that Fantasy Flight released called Android, which was a cyberpunk-themed murder mystery tabletop adventure.
That sounds amazing! Is that still available?
Yeah, it is, and it does look very interesting. I haven't yet played it myself.
We'll have to have a go at that as part of this ongoing series, I think. Yeah.
And you will actually come to recognise some of the theme and flavour and characters in that game in Netrunner. There are playable characters in that, such as Caprice and Issei, who are also very important cards in the game.
Excellent.
Oh, cool.
But Netrunner itself took this Android theme and built upon it and expanded it. So
it ran with it.
Yeah, yes.
Towards some nets.
So rather than just having the standard corporation and runner factions that you had in the original Netrunner, they actually flavoured it and themed it more by breaking it down into sort of factions within those two camps. So we're on the corporation side?
Yeah, we've got Wayland, we have NDN, we have Hasbioroid, and we have Jinteki.
Yeah, so just a quick mention about that kind of theme. The main concept of the game started off around Hasbioroid, who were a corporation developing Bioroids, which are essentially androids.
Yeah, think Blade Runner. It's what I've got from them.
Very, very Blade Runner. Whereas they were kind of a corporation that was working against another one called Jinteki. And Jinteki are a Japanese organisation who were into cloning.
Cloning and AI, isn't it? They got. Have I just made that up?
That's the second time you said that. Yeah. No, I don't think so. Just
lies.
I might be wrong, but as far as I'm aware, it's cloning. And these two corporations sort of going head to head as corporations, but then the runner coming in as a third faction to steal things from them and mess with them. But to expand that even further, you also now have the Wayland organisation, who are kind of like the evil corp. They're the big bad type. Let's try and do what we want and make the laws ourselves and kill the people that get in the way.
Again, very much taking off their namesake from Aliens, really, aren't they?
Yeah. Wayland Yutani from the Alien ones. And then there's NBN, who is basically Future Fox News. Who basically, they will control what you see on television and they will find out where you live. And either advertise you to death or actually literally kill you.
So slightly less evil than real life Fox News.
So that's the corporation side of things. And then over on the runner side, it's split into three factions. So even that in itself, but we haven't mentioned the fact that the game is played asynchronously. The corporation and the runner side of things are actually two different games that play against each other with different mechanics. But even the actual structure of the factions is asynchronous in the fact that, at least in the core set, there are 4 corporations and 3 runners factions. And the runner factions are Anarch, who... Does anybody want to...
Yeah, I mean, the Anarchs essentially want to get in there, steal things and cause trouble.
Absolutely. And probably just break stuff while they're there.
Yes, yeah. They might have a political purpose, but they're very much against the corporations. The corporations are bad, let's just mess with them. And very sort of individualist sort of in style.
Yeah, some of the cards, some of the abilities go down the route of let's fight against the powers.
Yeah.
The other ones go down the route of 4chan. So it's very Then you have Shapers.
Yes.
Now the Shapers are they're kind of the nerds of the game. They're us, really. They're the yeah.
Speak for yourself. Much more of a criminal.
Yeah. We'll come to criminals in a moment, but with Shapers, they're the ones who want to see if they can get into things just to see if they can.
I did notice that one of the identities you could take for Shaper was a 12-year-old girl who's like super genius. Just goes, I can muck about in people's computers. This is cool.
Yeah,
essentially.
And then if you're playing Wayland or NBN, you can blow her up or run her over in a traffic accident. Oh, that's quite dark, isn't it?
Shapers, they have all the interesting tools that everyone else wants to borrow.
Yeah.
But they are quite a kind of, I wouldn't say generic, but they're quite a standard runner.
Yeah.
They probably seem to be what the game's almost designed around, and then the other ones were kind of branched off from them. And then finally, you have Criminal. Joe, do you want to talk about Criminal?
The Criminals are mostly about making money, as most criminals are. But they mostly feature ways of, rather than your generic destruction from the anarchs or the
clever programming tricks from
they have their tricks, but it's all about bypassing things and sneaking round stuff rather than blowing it up or figuring out a way through it.
And it's just worth mentioning that we won't go into detail right now, but they have recently released some mini factions, which add even more flavour to the game. Joe is playing one of those quite regularly.
At the moment, I think we'll cover those in possibly the next episode, because I know Aaron's looking at one of them as well.
Okay,
so we will talk about those in the future.
So that's generally the theme of the game.
Yeah, so it's your hackers versus your corporations, and what you'll do is you'll play a game where, say if I'm playing Joe, I'll play the hacker and he'll be the corp, defending himself and trying to score his agenda, so complete his business as a corporation when I try to steal
get off
it.
my land about, get out of my servers.
Yeah, get out my servers. You are.
The shotgun.
And then we'll score that, and then we'll swap over. So you don't just play one side, everybody plays both. And you'll sort of swap over. So everyone will come to a game with 2 sets of cards, a deck for each side. I have to say, it's the theme that really appealed to me.
You are a big fan of your cyberpunk.
I love my cyberpunk. I'd quite happily give you a brief history and discourse on cyberpunk if you so desire.
Well, it might be worth mentioning at this point the kind of progenitor of much of the cyberpunk, if you wanted to.
Yeah, so the idea, the term cyberspace was coined by the writer William Gibson back in 1982 in his first collection of short stories, Burning Chrome, and then expanded upon in Neuromancer. Joe looks quite impressed because I'm doing this without notes.
I always assume you have notes on there.
No, there's nothing.
I'm learning because
cool.
Reading your answer is fantastic.
It's set in tomorrow's tomorrow, so not too far in the future.
So set in 2020, I was like, well, we've got 3 years till this happens.
You've got basically a society dominated by money-hungry corporations. You've got lots and lots of poor people living very, very close together, often in something that in Gibson's fiction is termed the sprawl.
Oh, I thought we were talking about today's world.
This is the thing. I mean, the cyberspace first being mentioned in 1982, before the internet was conceived of. Gibson has been credited sort of inventing the term and predicting the future. Now, he says that he just got lucky and that he wrote those short stories and Neuromancer in kind of a frenzy, hoping that no one beat him to it because it seemed so obvious that was where we were going. We're not quite there yet, but actually the rise of corporate power, the rise of the reach and influence of the media and the internet's current importance in our daily lives, at least in sort of the developed world, was very much predicted in his work. And then that genre has sort of taken off and expanded and gone in different directions. So you've got people like Neil Stevenson, who his book Snow Crash from 1992, which has lots and lots of sort of mythic significance and very, very big ideas about how we actually construct societies in the world, sort of filtering in there. One of my favourites is Richard Morgan's Altered Carbon, which is all about, it's set sort of the tomorrow of cyberpunk, if you like, where if you are rich enough, you can download your conscience into a new body and essentially live forever. Everybody has a chip in the back of their neck, which in theory contains their soul, using air quotes. So you can murder someone's body, and that's a bit naughty. But if you actually destroy that chip, then you are the most hated person in the world, because everyone wants to try and live forever. Which is being turned into a TV series, which will be out in 2018. And I'm so excited because it's going to be really, really good. But there's lots and lots of cyberpunk. What's recently got me interested in cyberpunk again is the release of the new Deus Ex game, which I know you've been playing as well, Joe.
Yes.
Have you been playing?
I haven't yet, no.
Been playing? You had a go?
I can't afford it.
It's
complete it and lend it to Aaron.
You complete it and lend it to Aaron. I've got two people in fact, that are on the list wanting to borrow mine.
Oh, okay.
I'll dress in dark shades and a trench coat and wander around somewhere orange. I'll be fine.
Yeah, there are cliches with cyberpunk.
There are, yeah.
The trench coat, the mirror shades. It was a very big thing in the 80s and sort of up to the mid 90s.
It's often raining a lot as well.
The Matrix is essentially a cyberpunk movie.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And then it's kind of died off. Probably because the internet actually sort of became a real important thing.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing a sort of resurgence of it now. We're kind of on the cusp of it being a thing again.
I think you could argue it might have carried on if the second and third Matrix movies weren't shit.
Possibly.
Might have killed the interest of it. But okay, so that is the history and what is of Netrunner.
No, it might be worth mentioning actually at this point. For anybody getting into Netrunner for the first time, my wife has actually stated on several occasions that listening to anybody talk about Netrunner is almost like listening to another language, where you know all the words but not the order they're said in.
I had that same conversation with somebody in a hobby shop in Cambridge. He was showing his other half was showing him Netrunner and going, "This looks really interesting." He's like, "Oh, I keep trying to get into it, but all the language is really confusing." And she went, "Yeah, I remember last time I tried to explain to you, you just glazed over when I started mentioning words. It does take. It's a new language.
It uses existing words in different ways, like ice." Which is not a thing that you're going to slip over or put in your drink.
Stuff again, isn't
it is.
Yes.
From Neuromancer, Intrusion Countermeasures Electronics.
Yes.
The acronym.
Black ice that can hurt the person accessing it, etc.
They are all terms that are, for the most part, like obviously bioroids aren't a thing, but they are terms that are used in the technical world. Stuff is made up. But
We'll endeavour to explain them as we go along.
We'll be the Rosetta Stone of Netrunner for...
Yes. We will guide you. We will be the torch in the murky electronic darkness.
Would you use a torch?
Yeah, an LED one.
I think in Netrunner the art would probably be a nice flaming torch, to be fair.
Yeah,
probably would. Yeah.
Yes, What I think would be quite
just
good...
a buzzing of electrons.
You're just a buzzing of electrons.
So's your mum.
She really is. What I thought would be quite interesting, because that's the history of Netrunner and the cyberpunk thing. And as we said, the theme I feel really strongly drawn to. But our own personal histories of Netrunner. And this cuts our group neatly in half. Because we've got two experts, if you like, or two people that are much more into it.
Not longer of an amateur. Sort of, maybe.
And two people that are very, very new to it.
Yeah.
And actually, the format we're going to do is we're going to pair up, and the people that are into Netrunner and have been playing for a while are going to tutor their young apprentices and pit them against each other in bloody combat at the end of the series.
Yes.
I should have hit you during the games.
Yeah, why not?
Cool.
Because I reckon I could take a punch from you and then I'd bite you back.
We've divided the group by their ability to grow beards.
Yes. Oh, we have.
I will be taking on the tutelage of Aaron.
Yes.
And I will be looking after Brian.
May I speak, Master?
No.
Yes. That's what we've needed for this podcast. So the idea is we have found a local shop, your friendly local gaming shops, that are going to be doing a fair few Netrunner tournaments. Me and Jamie enjoying that kind of thing, the competition, the crafting of decks and everything else, are going to be playing, and we thought it would be a nice idea to get Aaron and Brian, who I know Brian's not keen on the tournament scene, air quotes.
I've never really got into... I've played lots and lots of different games, and I've played quite a few of those a lot. But I've never really got into something sort of competitive, going out and playing strangers and scoring points and that kind of thing. And so, it would be something different for me. It'd take me out of my comfort zone and maybe make me less of a misanthrope.
Or
more, yeah. So I begin to see other people as pawns to be pushed aside in my diabolical schemes.
I've never competed in board game, card game tournament type wise. I've competed video games where the other person isn't in the room for me to shout at. So this might be different.
Cool. Aaron being the tamest one. Actually, maybe not now with the inclusion of Jamie, but it's definitely me or Brian that would be shouting.
I'm the angriest person in the room.
You are.
No matter what room I'm in.
True. We're going to be guiding them through building decks, how to play, general strategies.
When not to eat the pieces.
Yeah, you teach them to stop licking the cards, but
dipping them in Coke.
But just trying to get through the basics, and the end game for us is all four of us are going to go join in one of these local tournaments and see who out of Aaron and Brian does the best.
Which of course will be Brian.
No. As today has proven, Aaron is superior.
I beat you once.
How many games?
Out of 4.
Absolutely hammered you the first time I played you. That 7-0 will live long in my memory.
Yeah.
To be fair, Aaron has had some training from both of us so far.
Yeah.
You betrayed me, master. Notice me, senpai. I'm here.
Get good.
Oh no. Yeah.
Sorry, I feel a bit sick now.
Yeah, I feel a bit disgusted.
You're learning. This is good.
See, all I've got is Aaron in some kind of wheel, where as the wheel turns, Netrunner cards move past very quickly, while Joe shouts "Get good" at him over and over again, possibly while throwing little cardboard chips, credits, and brain damage tokens at his face.
And then once we're done with the wheel, we get a bag with your face on. He hits it with a chair, to build up that edge.
We totally need to make a video that's like that, for like the last bit.
So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, so I think it'd be quite interesting if you're not into Netrunner, but you're interested, you can kind of grow along with me and Aaron.
And I think it will be a really interesting point of view from somebody coming in now when we're several cycles into the game. A lot of cards have been released, and there's a lot of intimidation for new players, I think.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to make it a little bit more approachable for new players.
Yeah, definitely. How many cards are there currently in the game?
About 700, roughly.
Excellent. But
if you're already into Netrunner, it'll also be interesting seeing other people sort of expanding the game, bringing it to new people, how to sort of share that love of the game with others.
The other thing I do point out often as well, when we highlight the fact there's 700 cards in the game, there is also 7 factions, so it does make it slightly more approachable.
Yes, yeah. But you can hire cross-faction cards.
Yes, that's where things start to get a little more tricky.
Yeah, so your options, in theory, they are your options, but really you've got 100 plus a few from the others.
Select or general ones. Yeah, so it is going to be interesting. These things obviously are easier to get into at the ground level, but if you get into something when it's just beginning, it might not go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it is quite nice to jump in, at least for me, to a proper, established, ongoing game with a good community behind it.
Yes.
Which is one of the things Netrunner has.
Yep.
Yeah. For anyone that is looking to get into it, that's played Magic and gone along to tournaments or anything like that and just been smashed by the local person that has all the Planeswalkers, you don't really seem to have that kind of attitude in Netrunner.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the things, as someone that's new, one of the things that appealed to me to play this rather than getting into, because we're talking about getting into something together, rather than playing, say, Magic or maybe fully committing to Dice Masters that we've talked about, because it's a living card game, all the cards are available. There is no pay to win.
Except when they're outfit.
Yes.
I mean, they are... Every card is got an equal worth.
Yeah.
For a monetary value, it costs the percentage of the pack it's in.
Yeah.
And it's the same for everybody.
Yeah. If I'm building a deck and someone says you should really put 3 of these cards in, I can buy that data pack and put them in, and it will cost me, if it's out of print, it might be harder to get hold of, but generally they tend to all be available.
Flight have started reprinting things.
Yes.
Opening Moves was out of stock for a long time.
Yeah.
But it seems to be back in most places now.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So there isn't that thing of you need to win Magic the Gathering, you need to buy these 3 £500 cards and put them in your deck. Or you need to open 427 different random packs in the hope of finding one.
It's also worth noting as well, if you are trying to get into Netrunner or interested, the core set. The core set itself is a fantastic set, and it still holds up today. We'll talk more later about a tournament we entered recently. But there were people there who were playing with essentially just core set decks and still placed highly in the tournament and did well.
Which is your sort of roughly £30 box that gives you cards for every single faction and some neutral cards that you can add in, and you can essentially make a deck that's playable for anyone. Or 2 decks, one for each side.
I remember a comment you made, Brian, when looking online at different decks and how things work and combinations and stuff, is you was initially surprised that you hadn't seen a single deck that didn't include core cards.
Yeah.
Because most things, whereas this is very much a core set. It has core cards that are the core of a lot of things. They are worth building upon. It's not a starter set. It's not something that you're going to learn to play with, and then chuck aside because better stuff's available. It is very good. Something I want to mention quickly as well is that while there isn't currently any rotation, that will be coming in by the end of next year.
If you're playing tournaments,
Yes.
Which is our aim, but if you're playing casually, then you can use whatever you like. But they're going to start rotating what sets are available for you to use.
But they are doing something that's quite unique to them as far as I'm aware.
Really nice.
Really, really good idea. The core sets will never rotate out. They will always be available. They are always a good buy. Because
you've got the core set, and then you've got the 4 big expansions, the deluxe ones, which each cover 2 sides, don't they?
Each one has a runner faction it focuses on, and a corporation faction it focuses on. Apart from the mini factions, which came in 1, but we'll get onto those later.
Because otherwise there's only 7, and you end up with a box on its own, all sad and lonely.
With NDN. So there's... They will never rotate either.
Yeah, so they're good as well.
Those and cores. The reason I was pluralising core is because you might want to buy multiple core sets because different numbers of cards come in different numbers in the core set, which is the only thing they've ever done that annoys me with their cards. But beyond that...
You just need a friend like Jamie and you can borrow his cards.
Or me soon, hopefully. So all in all, the collecting side of it isn't the problem.
Yes.
Because everything's there as you want it. Like Brian said, it's not pay to win. You have to pay if you want the cards.
Yeah.
But at the same time...
Everything is available to everyone. It's a level playing field for all players. And I think that's one thing. I don't know about you, Aaron, but if we're going to go and play something competitive, I don't want to lose because I didn't want to spend the most amount of money.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, especially being a student, I don't necessarily have access to a lot of money, so having to buy that £500 Magic card to stand a chance of at winning a tournament means, well, there's no point in bothering playing because I'm going to pay £500 on a game.
Yeah. The fact that if you want those particular cards, you can get hold of them and play is one of the things that has coaxed me out of my not liking people's shell and made me go, actually, no, this could be a good thing. Because everyone has the same pool of cards to draw from that are all as easily got by everyone.
But I found people seem to be eager to share strategies and the ideas of cards working together and stuff. Oh, look at these ones because these work really well together.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about maybe some of the resources a little bit later, but there's as Joe said, there's a great community out there already. Just dipping my toe into it, just to sort of make my initial purchases, and inundated with help and suggestions and all sorts of things.
Even on the internet, which is usually quite a scary place, you find that not all the time, but for the majority of the time, people are quite supportive even with your deck building. You post up a idea of a deck you've made on a website such as Netrunner DB. And you'll get some really nice comments on suggestions for improvements, or some positive kind of feedback.
Yeah, it is overall a very, very good experience. So, moving on from that, then we've covered what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah. Yes.
So briefly, we'll mention where. Now, you guys that listen to us quite often will know we're based in Peterborough, in the UK, not in the US. That's why we sound funny.
Canada. There's a Peterborough, Canada. It's in Ontario.
Yeah.
Ontario.
Is it Ontario?
Yes.
Oh, I apologise for pronouncing your things correctly. Jamie's been to Canada.
He has.
My wife is Canadian.
It's not Canada, is it? I've not got
No, that's a character from Akira.
I didn't know your wife was. I didn't know your wife was Canadian. Excellent. Cool. Anyway.
So yes, we are playing at the local shop in Chatteris. Is where we're going to be attending these tournaments called the Hobbit Hole. Me and Jamie popped down for a tournament there
last weekend.
It was last weekend. Or last weekend by the time this comes out.
This is true.
I'm so awkward with time. I always get tied up in knots.
Weird time travel.
Yeah.
But we went down. We played in the tournament there. Jamie won.
Which makes me feel like I'm in safe hands, and I feel a kind of bit of pity for you, Aaron.
Whoever would have won our games would have won the tournament. Because it was 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And at the end of the second round, me and Jamie were tied first.
Okay, cool.
So
now, we did say before going into the tournament, because we wasn't sure how many people were going to be there or anything like that, it was like, I kind of hope that we don't end up playing against each other, because we'd been practicing with each other all week beforehand, and as luck would have it, we ended up in the final together.
Yes. Then I got cocky, lost, and ended up like 4th.
Did you get badly beaten then, or?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Actually, I got hammered because I was being far. I had a really good plan.
Yeah.
For turn 1, 2, and 3, I think.
Yeah.
And then in turn 4, that plan went out the window, and I went, "Oh, I'll do this," and died horribly.
Yeah, I've got a note here. It says Joe got overconfident, not drawing for heartbeat, and then ran into a June bug on 3 cards.
Yes. Which did 4 damage to me, and I died.
Yes.
What is this June bug card? I need one.
It's a Jinteki
card, whereas Heartbeat is the console for Apex that allows you to trash install cards to stop damage.
Okay,
so basically, against a Jinteki player that likes killing you, I draw and draw until I get that, and then go, I don't really care about any of your stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And so instead, I was doing that for a few turns, and forgot and got excited and ran at a card that was advanced. Died horribly, and then turned over the next card on my deck that was Heartbeat.
Wow.
So I was gutted
so
about being
one
an idiot.
card off.
Yeah.
Literally one draw, and I would have been in a completely different game.
And the second game, Joe was, I suppose, a little bit unlucky in the fact that it was in our matchup, because in the prior week, I'd included a card in my deck to, at the time whilst we were playing, mess with him.
See, this is the kind of cunning that I need to absorb.
It was basically, I was playing a variation on Prepaid Kate, which was a very popular deck around this time last year. It's gone out of favour a little bit since there was some changes to the game.
Yes.
But I really wanted to see if I could still make it work. And so I took this deck that's basically it's like a toolbox. It has all the tools in it. And alongside the normal tools, I threw in a combination of 2 cards, one called Gingerbread, which allows you to kind of get into the corporation's servers. It's an icebreaker, and ice being the kind of protection, the firewalls that the corporation uses. And this icebreaker called Gingerbread allows you to break tracer subroutines. Now, for the most part, people don't run tracers that much.
Yeah.
There's a kind of thing that you occasionally see in things like NBN, where they want to trace the runner and see if they can do something nasty to them. And the nice thing is, there's a second card that came out not too long ago called Panchachantra. A lot of the shape names are quite hard to pronounce. which allows you to make any piece of ice you encounter, at least the first piece of ice you encounter on a run, you can turn it into a non-standard piece of ice, or at least apply that subtype to it.
Just to quickly break that down for anyone that's not familiar.
Yeah, because I think we're talking
you
gobbledygook
have
now for
ice,
new players.
which is your firewalls. They are what protects your servers.
Yes.
Ice is one of 3 types.
Yeah.
You have a barrier, gets in the way.
Yeah.
A code gate, which I'm guessing some kind of puzzle.
Yep.
And a sentry, which goes, oi, get out.
Yep.
Yes.
Or he's over there. That kind of stuff.
Or to shoot you.
Yeah.
Cyberly. Is that a word?
Cyberly.
Cybernetically would be good.
Yeah.
So they are your 3 main types. Now, the magic card Jamie's talking about, basically you can give it any subtype that's not one of those 3 big ones.
Yeah.
So he, in this instance, uses it to apply the tracer subtype to other ice and break through it with gingerbread. The problem I come up against is playing NBN, the news network. I've gone, there's quite a lot of nice tracer cards in there.
Yes.
And there's an agenda you can get that improves the strength of all your tracer cards. So I built my entire deck around just using tracer ice. So
excellent.
He has
one
one
icebreaker.
card
Let me just get through all of his ice.
Yes.
So essentially, it meant that your protection of your servers, which is where you install your agendas, which are the things that score you points to win the game, or your assets, which are the things that your corporation is buying, or the employees they've got, or
how various they generate their money, that kind of thing.
But essentially left completely defenceless because he had one very cutely named program that could just run through everything. In my mind, I've now got the gingerbread man from Shrek just running around going, "Ah!" and stealing all your stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. It works really nicely, and anyone that didn't have that card has struggled to get in because I've built it in a way that makes it really difficult. Unless you have that card, which just smashes things wide open.
Get 7 of these.
So that was interesting.
Did you have a good tournament? What is it that appeals to you guys about the tournament scene as opposed to sitting around your mate's table playing a few games?
I'm not as experienced with tournaments as Joe is. I do like competitive games, but I also, I'm happy just to not go and play competitive games. I used to play some Magic tournaments back in the late 90s, early 2000s, but then fell out of that scene completely. But I think with Netrunner, it's a game that's really kind of gotten under my skin, and it makes me really think. And it's nice to be able to play against your local, what gets referred to as meta, your local meta, and get used to that. But it's also really nice to go out and play against people you haven't really played against before. And that's one of the little challenges I wanted to face with going to a tournament again. Was not really know who I was going up against. And also, to be fair, I went to the tournament with I wasn't expecting to win. I knew that I knew a lot about the game, and I knew my deck quite well, which are, kind of good things for a tournament.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I went because I wanted to have some fun. So I'm not as experienced in tournaments as Joe is.
Yeah, I've played quite a few. I've played a couple of games at a national level.
Yeah.
3 different card games, in fact.
Cool. Which are?
No, 2 card games and similar. I played Hero Clicks.
Yep.
I have played Dice Masters, obviously. I played Card Fight Vanguard at a national level.
Really?
A few years ago, yeah.
Okay. But it's different, isn't it? To me, it's kind of, what's this game actually about, is it?
Like Jamie said, when we were playing a load, practicing for this tournament, it was very hard to sit there going, don't just put things in that beat him.
Yes.
You will fight other people. And this is it. And this is the thing that brings me back and back and back to the competitive scenes. It's nice in Peterborough. I'll use Dice Masters as an example. If I want to win in Dice Masters in Peterborough, I take this card, this card, this card, because it beats the big things people here bring.
Yeah.
If I'm going to go play somewhere else, probably don't take two of those cards, because it's a thing people like to do here. And this is it. And being able to go, okay, so cool, so I have to do some research into what other people are playing and where. What happened in previous tournaments, what's happening in America, where there's generally bigger scenes for everything.
Yeah.
What are they playing? And I like that. I like the overall meta game of stuff. And so that, and the fact that for Netrunner itself, it's a puzzle. Building your deck is a puzzle.
Yeah. Now, that's something I was going to say. One of the things that appeals to me about the game is that crafting your deck of cards for either faction, you will select from the 700 roughly 50. 45 to 50 for each side, depending on who you are and what you're doing, and it can change, but you've got about 50 there, and you can have up to 3 of the same card. In certain circumstances, certain things you can only have 1, certain cards you can have 6, but generally you can only have 3, maximum of 3 of each card. And what you're trying to do, and it's a different puzzle for each side, is as the runner you are trying to access those agendas, those operations that the corporation is undertaking, and steal them. You steal the plans or whatever, you hoik them out the server, you expose them to the world, whatever it is you're doing with them once you've found them. You're saying, this company's going to be doing this illegal war over there, look, and it's worth points for you, whatever it is. But you're trying to protect yourself, you're trying to generate money, you're also trying to build a suite of programs to get into their servers. So you've got different things you're trying to do at the same time. As the corporation, you're trying to get those things down and score them. You might try to flatline the runner, so either by completely destroying their ability to be online or to actually turn up at their house and shoot them in the face, push a child into a traffic accident. But you also need to, again, you need to make sure that you're generating money to be able to do that. You're doing other things. So you've got like this puzzle of how do you spend your cards? Which cards do you use? Where's your focus? Are you going to focus more in one area or more in another? Are you going to try and draw more cards to find the ones that you need? Or are you going to use certain cards that let you pull those out? What are you going to do? And there's all this layer of it. Now, if I was playing Joe, and I've played Joe 5 times, I can go, Joe's deck is the puzzle I'm trying to beat. And make my deck beat Joe. If I'm playing random people that I've never met, but if I'm playing people I haven't met that could do anything, you need to build a deck that's capable of winning as many games, as many matchups against as many different play styles as possible. So actually for this, it then expands the puzzle, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now,
that was a long, wobbly story.
No, it was good because it has shown a massive change in opinion in you being the anti-tournament game.
Yes, yeah.
In the last week.
Yeah.
A week ago, if I went, making decks, which I think I did to you at one point.
And I looked at you and went, shut up.
No, don't like it. It's intimidating and weird.
I went online and looked at them because I was just going to copy decks off of other people.
But
I just find my brain went, okay, I want to play tournaments. I want to do Jamie proud, even though he won't talk to me. Let me speak. I'll find 2 decks that do really, really well. I just buy the cards, make those, and go, cool, I'm really good. But actually, that's not really how it works.
No, but we've been chatting. Sorry, Aaron, but we've been chatting about deck ideas and stuff as well. And
typical NBN player.
I need to know what he's doing so you can beat him.
Yeah.
Just whinging. Just getting the tags in place. But it's really nice to see that you've gone, because I remember saying to you, building your deck is a puzzle. So you need to be able to break code gates, barriers, and sentries.
Yeah.
So you need something that can do all 3.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to get shot? No, you might want something that will keep you out of being shot.
Yeah.
Or avoid them finding out where you are so you can't get shot.
Yeah.
And explained it like that, and you seem to go, it's not quite as intimidating. Now I know what pieces of the puzzle I'm trying to find.
Yes. My initial reaction to it was, oh my God, what do I do? I'm just going to use a pre-built deck forever because what's going on?
Yeah.
What did you think about that, Aaron?
It was exactly the same, to be honest. It was, I'm more used to deck building and stuff because of playing Magic the Gathering and things before in the past, but again, the amount of cards, the amount of time it's been around, it was a little bit intimidating, to say the least, and frightened the life out of me. But it's not actually been all that bad because those core mechanics are fairly. There's a lot of depth to them, but there's a nice simplicity to getting, understanding how it all works and how the puzzles function.
Yes.
And I've been a bit more encouraged to sit there and build things, and there's a lot of nice resources out there to assist with that, without taking away your agency to actually build.
Yeah. Now this might actually be a good time to discuss some of the resources. As we're talking about deck building. I mean, one of the things I did want to say as well is if anyone else is listening to this as you would like to get into Netrunner thing, and again you are intimidated with the decks and what to build, either start with the core, build a deck,
which is what me and Aaron have done. The first couple games we played were the core decks, and we just played against. I played with Jamie, Aaron played with Joe, and then we kind of played each other a little bit.
But if you go, this deck needs this deck needs that, you'll notice all the core factions, for the runner especially, are good at breaking 2 types of ice and don't have anything for the third one. So you want to put something in that helps with that third one. But the other thing that, once you're familiar with the game, find a deck you like Brian did, and go, I want to play this one because it looks cool and the internet says it's good. And then change bits. That's kind of still what I do in any of the games. I will find... I don't have the time. I do have the time at the moment, but I don't have the patience to sit and go through every single card and figure out every single thing. But if I can find a rough theme I like, play it a few times and then try and plug the holes that you're finding in it. There's not enough money, which is one of the things my current deck is struggling with. It needs more income, so I need to change something.
I sat there today going, where's all my economy gone?
Wasn't it on the right side of the table behind a glass?
It was, that was
already on the board.
I was really hoping you wouldn't mention that, because I was churning through my deck looking for a card that I'd hidden behind a pint glass.
This is a game, unlike a lot of them, where playing it lots to find out how it works goes really a long way. To understanding the game, to helping you craft better decks, etc., etc.
I mean, I would say as well, you were saying about how you still will go and grab a playable deck from maybe Netrunner DB, tweak it to your own liking. And to be honest, that's what I've done for the majority of my Netrunner career, as it were. I've been playing Netrunner now for about 2.5 years, on and off, but then there's not been that many people locally playing it, so I've not had a massive amount of experience even myself. But I've only recently just started to get into deck building from scratch, and it's very satisfying, but also quite intimidating even now.
No, I completely agree.
But I have to say, we're talking about resources. Most mobile devices, Android or iOS, have apps that help you with deck building. I'm using NetDeck for iOS, which there are not many apps on the Apple Store for it.
Because obviously it belongs on Android.
Yes, this is true. But I have to say NetDeck is very useful. I found it very helpful, and the way you can sort of also then compare up with Netrunner DB, which in itself has an excellent search engine, will help you find the card you're looking for. I mean, I sat there last night and came up with a Edward Kim Trash All the Things deck, and that was basically just using Netrunner DB's search function to find everything that had the word trash in it, filter through to find the things that I thought sounded nice, and then threw them together using NetDeck. And
I mean, I played my first game of this a week ago. For the very first time, we got together. Was it Friday?
Yeah, I think so.
It's Tuesday now, so we're like 4 days ago. Played quite a few games on Friday, and I was left, as Joe said, going, the core set's good, but I want to be able to do this and to do that and to do the other. So I've looked up various things, and I've actually built my first corporation deck myself, and I have published that online, not for attention. I just wanted to be able to show Jamie and Joe what I'd done, because I was all proud of myself because I did a thing on my own. And I clicked the publish button. I used Netrunner DB to do this, so I sort of signed up and just put a thing, and someone commented and went, oh, this looks really good. Have you considered this and this and this and this? And had a great conversation, and they've helped me actually tweak the deck so that when I played Aaron today, it was better than it would have been. And I've changed a few things around. So thank you, Rubbishy Username. Which I think is a great username, thus contradicting its own inherentness. Oh God!
Well done.
I've got all cross-eyed thinking about that. But yeah, thank you very much. And we were talking about sort of the community. That was really nice because I didn't do it for attention. It just sort of put there so other people could see it. And now I've got a better deck. Yay!
For the Android side of things, app-wise, I use Deck Builder for Netrunner. Very well named.
It's kind of like it does.
Ronsil.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of nice features. You can limit what data packs are available, how many core sets you're using, etc., etc.
So if you've not got everything,
you can just have what you've got available.
Yeah, excellent.
You can export your decks in normal text, because I sent Aaron a couple.
You did?
Yeah.
You can export them in Netrunner DB style to be uploaded to that website. And you can also export them in a style for gintechie.net, which we'll go on to in a minute.
Yeah.
The other app I use, if I'm looking up individual cards, or like Jamie said, I want all the stuff that has trash in it. It's called Brain Trust. Really nice little app. That's good for looking for things like that.
Yeah.
Like I was showing Aaron earlier, typing in Bioroid, because he's playing HB, and it was finding cards that had Bioroid in the flavour text.
Okay.
You know, it searches every part of the card for the words. Which is really nice. So that's, again, quite a good thing to use in addition to other stuff.
Yeah.
Jamie, any other online resources that are particularly worth mentioning?
Aku.net, I think it is, ACOO.net. It's another good site for looking up cards and browsing decks, especially if you want to look at cards by release pack, sort of data packs.
Yeah.
And they have the spoilers there quite early for future data packs.
Awesome.
Yes, I've stumbled on that accidentally.
Yeah.
One place I did go, because I use Reddit quite a bit, is I went onto the Netrunner subreddit and went, I'm thinking of playing like this. What kind of things do I need to buy? Is this a viable strategy? And had loads of people respond and give me some feedback and talk me through and point me towards. That's how I found out about Netrunner Database or Netrunner DB, because someone there went, oh, look at this. And they linked every card to it. And suddenly I had amazing, I could just click and look at every card, and it was really, really nice. So thank you to the people on the Netrunner subreddit as well, because I feel like they've helped accelerate me. I feel like I'm kind of running before I could walk almost.
I might even say it's an accelerated beta test.
Yes. I feel like I've far outstripped Aaron, who's still just using what he's given like a child with a plastic spoon. Yeah, you did. It's because I can't see through glass.
I could also definitely, I think, recommend netrunners.co.uk.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an excellent resource. It has a good community on there. You can look at the forums, but additionally, it has a lot of articles written by tournament winners and experts.
There was a few I linked to Brian and Aaron initially when we were looking at doing this, especially the one about the stages of the game of Netrunner.
Yeah.
For example, there are generally thought to be 3 stages. The early one where the runner is aggressive because the corp hasn't got much defences.
Yeah.
The mid game where the corp's like, fuck you can't get in here.
Yeah.
And then the late game where the runner's got enough tools to be able to just get through whatever. It's just a case of figuring out how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's lots and lots of really good articles on there.
Yeah, excellent. So you don't have to sort of struggle through this on your own. Obviously you have us, the Critical Twits, to help keep you company and to talk to you and whisper soothing nothings into your ear while you sleep.
If you don't,
that's mostly Colin's job.
If you don't quite fancy that, one of the things that I'd be interested in doing, I don't know about the rest of them, is there is a site called gintechie.net.
Yes.
Very, very good. I'm assuming they have some kind of deal that lets them do it. No? Is it dodgy as anything, or?
I haven't heard recently, but was it Gintechie? One of the ones was shut down for a while and then came back. But no.
But yeah, it allows you to play online. So you don't need to buy anything. You can test your decks. You can figure out how things go. It's not perfect. I went and watched a YouTube video of how to play on it, and it's about 50 minutes long. It goes through a lot of basic stuff, but it also then goes, by the way, it might not do this for you. It does some really cool things, but it also misses some things because programming every card perfectly doesn't always work.
Well, try harder.
Yeah, and going, I didn't mean to do that. It can be difficult to reverse actions.
Yeah.
But as a general thing, it does mean you can play online. Me and Aaron will be trying to use this to play some games to...
Simply because of distance.
Yeah, it just becomes a little bit
Aaron's
easier.
very distant emotionally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Now, actually, I like the idea of being able to play the game online, but for me, that makes one of the biggest parts of the game disappear. Yeah. And one of the things that appeals to me about this game, because I'm quite particular, I either take to something and really like it or don't.
Yeah,
is there is an element of bluffing. Mm-hmm. Aaron got me a good one. He built a really, really solid server with lots and lots of nasty things in the way, what they called a glacier, because it's got lots of ice. Puns. And
then, like the Titanic, rammed into it.
You scored an agenda in it.
Yep.
And then you put something else in it. Yep. And I was like, right, Aaron's built this thing up to score. So I actually gave my my runner brain damage, so permanently damaged my runner in order to access that again, using a card called Stim Hack, where essentially you take
speed.
Yeah, you take loads and loads of future synthetic drugs and use the bonuses there to get in, and it gives you lots of different resources to get in, but it hurts you afterwards, and you'd put a bloody trap in it. So I managed to hurt myself. I essentially punched myself in the face to get in there, and then you punched me on the other side of the face. I staggered out covered in virtual blood, going, that was a stupid idea, wasn't it? Very, very much upset. So that was very good. But you lose a little bit of that. I mean, you still got it on the cards, but you lose a little bit of that. But that is one thing that actually made me go, I'm happy to commit to this game and get into it.
Yeah,
because it's more than just sort of like Magic the Gathering, you just play cards at each other.
Yeah,
I would agree. Personally, I'm probably not going to get much into Jinteki.net. I know it's really good for learning and for being able to play against a lot of different people and a lot of different strategies. But I've always found, I love the bluffing side of the game, like Brian. As a corp, I almost always play Jinteki just because I love the bluffing side of the game. But also, I do find that playing analog games in a digital format, even if they're done really well, somehow slightly turns me off the analog game in the long run. I don't know what it is. I mean, I remember I used to like playing a lot of Agricola. And then I started playing the iPad version. And then I no longer wanted to play the board game version. And I don't know why, because I love board games probably more than I do video games. So
I noticed the same thing with the Magic the Gathering games, to be honest. I think because it took a little bit of this card is going to affect these cards. Cool, okay. I don't have to sit there and go, right, this is going to do this with this one, and that with that one, and that with that one. I just click a button and it highlights it on the screen for me. So it took a little bit of that.
It takes some of the tedium out of it, but also it takes away some of the interaction, and so you go, either way I'm missing something. I mean, the reason I've said it would be good for us to play is obviously distance. Getting together to play can be difficult.
Because Aaron lives in a windmill in the country.
It does, but the windmill has some internet.
Yes. So generated by the turning of the fans.
Yes.
No, it's the tiny mouse that lives downstairs.
But what we can do is, I would suggest, rather than just logging onto that and playing, is to sit on Skype and talk while we're doing it.
Yes.
I've just had a really good idea for a new runner that lives in a windmill. With a really poor internet connection.
Can't be traced.
Yeah, they can jack out at any time, but also can't use anything big. Just pull the ADS out, the phone cable out the wall.
So,
a picture of you.
I'm hoping it means we can retain some of the bluffing element because we'll be chatting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just a way of getting that extra bit of stuff in. I've thought to myself a couple of times, like over the weekend and stuff, I could go on there and play. And the same as Jamie has gone, it's missing the bit I like, that interaction. And sometimes in some communities, it's nice to not have that interaction. in Magic, to be honest. Might as well just sit there and flop cards onto a computer screen rather than onto a table against someone. Because you're not doing anything else.
And actually, I mean, there are a lot of card games, in air quotes, that are online now. Like Hearthstone and things like that.
Well, even if you look at the systems that are not even targeted initially at those types of things, you've got on Steam, Tabletop Simulator, which has
OCTGN.
And Octagon, which Octagon's been around for a good long time and has supported Netrunner. I think was it actually created to support Netrunner?
I believe it might have been, yeah.
But Tabletop Simulator will support a myriad of tabletop games, just normal board games.
Yeah.
But there is actually somebody's created a Netrunner module for it, along with many other types of card games. So there's if you want to take it into the digital realm, there's a lot of options.
Yeah. And actually, that might be a good way. We might even be able to, in the future, give you a game.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, get in contact in the comments, etc., and you can help us train up. Because as the end goal is to compete in a tournament, the more games that I can get, the better, I feel.
I also think there is something to being able to read the board state rather than your opponent.
Yeah,
if you can look at how the cards are without going, he smiled when he picked that up.
Yep. Yeah.
Just to be able to go, they've done this, chances are they're doing this, and this is a good idea. That will teach you to be a better player.
It will. And from a tournament point of view, where you're having to play fast because you're against a time limit, that's
ignoring
a really good
what
skill
they're doing and just looking at what's happening.
Yes.
How many cards have you got? What's on the table? Cool, I'm going to play against that, not against the person.
And while we're on that topic, just have to mention that's one of the scariest phrases in the game. How many cards do you have?
Yeah, I learnt that today.
I did that to you earlier, didn't I?
In Netrunner, your hand as the runner, so if you've got 5 cards, you essentially have
5 hit points.
Yeah.
Well, 6 because you've got to go to -1 to die.
When you take damage, you lose a card at random from your hand. If you can't lose a card, you get shot in the head, or zapped,
or blown up, or
turned into a vegetable, or whatever.
Pushed in front of a car.
Yeah. So, if at any point someone says to you in a game, "How many cards have you got in your hand?" It's normally you always go to the assumption of they're going to try and kill you. So you try and
throw the cards at their face.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I said to Jamie is playing NBN. I've got a card that says gain 1 credit for every card in the runner's hand.
Yeah.
So it's
just a mind game at that point.
Yeah.
But when you're playing Jinteki PE and every option you have is to stab the runner somehow in the face, asking them how many cards they have in their hands really sets them on edge.
To be honest, one thing I said to Jamie is actually in a tournament, I might just start asking them at the beginning of every turn.
Yes.
Because if they constantly going, shit,
and then I'm going to draw lots of cards, so I've got more
they waste their clicks drawing cards and possibly discarding things they might want later.
Yeah.
Every click they use to discard because they're scared of being shot, even if I haven't got anything that shoots them in the deck, gives me a bit of an advantage.
Yeah.
Rosetta Stone time, we haven't described clicked yet.
No. Let's briefly do that.
Click is essentially
an action.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some form
and this is one of the things where, because the game is asymmetrical, you're playing slightly differently. Mm-hmm. The runner, being a lone wolf that's nimble and can react, gets 4, whereas the corporation, a big, heavy behemoth with multiple divisions, only gets 3. But they have to draw a card to start with, which the runner has to pay a click for.
Yes.
So it kind of simulates a company's constant need to be doing something, chasing a profit, always moving forwards, whereas the runner is kind of that reactive thing. So it's quite good. And
from a mechanics point of view, also it does add a clock to the game because the corporation is mandatory drawing a card every turn,
and
at least one.
Either player draws a card or can't draw a card when they are required to, they lose.
Yes.
Because it run out of resources.
Yes. Now, from a runner point of view, that's not so scary because you have the choice most of the time if you are going to draw a card.
Yeah. Yeah, not always, but most of the time.
But as the corporation, there's very few ways to avoid that. At least once per turn. Yeah,
so that's quite good. Now, what I thought we'd do as a final thing is we have separated into 2 different teams.
Okay.
Now, I've got a good idea of how I want to try and play. This might change over the course of this. You've got sort of an idea of how you want to play?
Yes, I've gone more for theme than play style, but I'm starting to adapt to a play style now.
Yeah. So what I thought we'd do is me and Aaron will give you our pitches of how we want to play.
Yeah.
What we're going to do, and then you can, from the safety and comfort of your own home, decide whether you want to be Team Aaron or Team Brian. If you can come up with a better team name, Team Beardy, Team Furry. In fact, what I thought we could do actually is, based on what we do, if you guys out there can come up, or girls, can come up with good team names for us, then we will use those team names in future episodes.
And if it's one we use, we'll send you a biscuit.
We will send you a biscuit.
Yeah, might be soggy by the time it gets there, but
no, these are specially wrapped individual fancy biscuits that don't get soggy.
Yes, and we have delivered on all of our existing biscuit promises. If you listen back to previous episodes, we have offered biscuits and we have delivered. There is evidence on Twitter of this happening.
Yes.
When the critical twits promise sweet snackages, you get sweet snackages from us.
Sometimes two.
Sometimes we actually over-delivered on our promises. Yes. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Go on, I'll go first then.
Cool.
Because I haven't said anything in a little while. So, as I said, I've lent more towards theme than I have towards a play style currently. I have found an inkling towards one of the corps more than I have the actual runners in the core deck. Half-Spyroid, because I quite like Blade Runner and I like the idea of cyborgs and exploring that aspect and using that against people. And they tend to play as glacier decks, as Brian mentioned earlier, so lots of ice piling on smaller sections of the board because you kind of spread out as a corp as far wide as you would like.
Yeah, you can have as many servers doing as many different things as you want, but then the more you've got, the more thin your ice is spread.
Yeah. And they like using AI or the bioroids essentially to protect the servers and act as the ice for them and stuff. But I like that development of creatures and things. Now, as far as the runners are concerned, I've been playing Kate with the Shapers. I've just lost a drink for that.
Not for that, for sitting there and crunching it while talking.
I've chosen the Shapers and Kate, who comes in the core set, because I like playing with tech. So she's got the shiniest toys in the core set, so I've led towards that a little bit. But I have, after speaking with Joe a little bit about it, actually want one of the mini factions that we had a brief mention of earlier. I'm not going to call him Guy because technically he is and he isn't. A guy called Adam, who is an ex-Bioroid.
He's a rogue Bioroid.
He's a rogue Bioroid.
Ex-cyborg. Had my machine bits taken out.
It's all skin now.
Now I'm just a potato with a face glued on.
So I've looked towards the rogue Bioroid, who's either, depending on how I fancy playing at the time, fighting against Half-Spyroid, so I'm playing either side of the same
conflict. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Or maybe secretly working for them, pretending to be
released by.
Oh, so you can kind of in your head link your games together.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite cool.
But he comes like pre-installed with things when you start the game that have advantages, but quite strong disadvantages as well that you have to tailor around. So there's a risk and reward section we're playing in, which I quite like the idea of trying out.
Yeah, Adam sounds really, really interesting. So I have decided, after last week's revelation when we were when we've been playing Malifaux, where I realised that although I want to play, I always get initially hooked into something that sounds tricky. If I do this and this and this, I win the game because of this. Oh, and they will never know. Those are the things that appeal to me. I'm rubbish at that. It's taken me 31 years to realise that my aspirations don't fit my actual demeanour, my personality. What I decided then, having had that revelation of buying all the tricksy models in Malifaux and then not being able to use them properly, I've gone for something very, very straightforward. Cyberpunk often features corporations that are huge behemoths that if you get in their way, they will crush you.
Yeah.
I will play that. I will play Wayland. And I'm hoping to take that all the way through to the tournament. Even if I change, because there's different divisions of the Wayland Corporation you can play, different identities that you can play within that. But I will stick with the Wayland faction at least until the end of the tournament. So I'm happy to say I'm with them.
Yeah.
My first, because having played sort of the core set and sort of got into it that way, I want to be the nastiest future corporation you could possibly think. The one that sends the man round to your house, knocks on the door and shoots you in the face.
Yeah.
The one that plants a bomb underneath your bed. The one that kidnaps your family.
And kicks your dog.
And kicks your dog, yes.
Or your child in front of a car.
Yes. While doing the most horrible things to the environment, to the world, in order to advance itself. So currently I'm playing the first deck I've built, which I have published on Netrunner DB under the handle Critical Brian, so you can find it on there. One of us will pop a link below so you can check that out. And as I said, thank you very much, because people have already started giving me feedback on that. It's the Argus security division of Wayland, so they're the Guns and Goons squad of the nasty guys, which has lots of ways of finding out where the runner lives and doing horrible things to them. So, in a game of horrible future corporations, why not go big and be the biggest, most horriblest future corporation you can possibly be? To the point where I've got assassins in my deck, contract killers.
Yeah.
I've got all sorts of things in there that appeal to me. And it's quite straightforward. It's either going to do all of its horrible things because you're scared of it, or it's going to, if you make a mistake, someone will knock on your door and blow you up.
Yeah.
Hey! Now, to go with that, initially I was, I decided I liked the look of the Anarchs as a runner faction, because, again, they just want to blow things up. They want to cause trouble. And I initially was quite called to by Max. Max is essentially a punk character. She runs through her deck very, very quickly, pulling out the cards that she needs, fishing into what they call the heap, which is where you put the cards that you've used or that you've kind of been forced to discard or whatever, in order to sort of basically throw lots and lots of things at the corporation, and either force them to discard lots of cards, or sort of risk herself smashing into the things, using things like that stim hack card that I talked about earlier, sort of drugs and things like that. However, playing the core box, I really quite like the identity of Noise for the Anarchs. Yeah. Now, Noise is quite good. Is he considered, because you guys know more than, is he considered very, very good to this day, even though he's in the core box?
The metas change all the time.
It does fluctuate, but he is pretty, from what I've seen, and I think unless you are probably talking nationals level, he is solid.
Yeah.
He is always a good choice. He went through a period of suffering a little bit, because I think a couple of cards came out that interfered with the way he wanted to play.
Yeah.
But once people found ways round and ways to balance that out, actually, he's still probably one of the top 3 Anarchs.
Yeah.
And it's worth mentioning that his kind of theme is really around viruses, and milling the corporation.
Yeah, every time he installs a virus card, so he makes a virus, or he buys a virus, or whatever he does, and installs it to use against the corporation. As in computer virus, not going around injecting syphilis into people's eyes.
Unless you're stim hacking.
Possibly. But using those, the corporation has to take a card out of its R&D section, so its stack of cards, and basically throw it in the trash. Now, as we said earlier, there's a timer on the game. When those cards run out, when the corp then next has to draw, they have lost. So he puts pressure on people. And actually, both of the decks I've chosen, or both the sort of sides I've chosen, work very, very quickly. Which for me as a beginner, I know what I want to do. I have a goal with what I'm doing, and I'm going to try and pursue it very, very quickly. To me, it won't work for everyone, but to me that's a good way of getting into the game quickly. I have a plan, I'm going to try and do it, and then if it doesn't work, I've learnt a bit about the game. I've learnt a bit about different play styles, rather than trying to play something that maybe sits quite still for a long time and sets up a plan, because I don't know enough about the game to make an effective plan yet.
Yeah, what you've done is you've taken the coin of magic turn, you've taken the red decks win type thing.
Yeah.
It's fast, and it has a plan and doesn't really care too much what the corp's doing.
Yeah.
Yes, the corp can do stuff to mess with you. in this game more than any other, there are Magic decks and there are Dice Master teams that go, I literally care. You could have any cards on your side of the thing. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I'll hope to do it faster.
Again, one of the things I like about this is that there is constant back and forth.
Always, yeah.
Even the Corp, like I've got like my Corp deck. If I played you, Aaron, and you were sitting there sort of setting up your plan, and then you had a cheeky little run, you hacked into one of my core servers and had a look in my R&D department, and I went, ha, I've traced you, and played a card to find out where you are, which then opens you up to me turning up at your house with a shotgun.
Yeah.
So I can still affect you.
Yes.
Even though the Corp is quite defensive, there's still ways that we're interacting. If you don't run at me, I can still come and get you.
Yeah.
Which I like. So that's what I'm doing. So a very different kind of way of looking at it.
More of a slower play style. And
HB has Bioroid and pushes itself towards the fast advancing type play style. So getting the Bioroids to make the things go quicker.
Yeah.
Whereas Wayland can kind of do whatever it wants, really. It's got quite there's a lot of variety within Wayland.
Yes, so if my play style changes, I can still stay within that faction. But I want to be the clumping behemoth, because that's never going to happen in real life for me.
Nicely enough as well, the things what me and Jamie want to play are also different.
Yes, so we can play amongst ourselves and have a good variety.
And have pretty much everything represented.
Joe's going for NBN, I believe.
Yes, I've always liked NBN. Initially, it was seeing them from the core set from a very beginner playing with other beginners' point of view as one of the weaker factions, which actually isn't true.
That's advanced.
Yeah, but not having our head around all of that, me and our friend Matt were sitting there playing quite a lot, and would literally sit there going, but they have less stuff that stops them getting in, and they don't have this, and they don't have that.
They've got weak eyes.
Yeah, they play differently, so they seemed weak.
Yeah.
But I liked the idea of the Noobs network, so I've kind of attached myself to them. And I'm 50-50 between playing one of the other mini factions, Apex, the horrible AI that wants to eat all their data. Essentially, it's like a really bad phone plan. I'm very tempted with that, but that's more of a side thing because I think it's quite fun. Adam looks interesting as well, so it'd be quite nice to work with Aaron to make that work.
Yeah.
But my main focus is probably going to be on criminals because, again, I've always liked the way they play.
Yeah.
Unlike Brian, I go, ooh, and get quite excited by massively powerful things, but play quite well with the tricky elements.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can look at something and see its power, but I prefer to play something that's sneaking around the sides and reacting a lot more. So criminals seem to be quite a good fit. And then finally, Jamie.
Yeah, so for the tournament we went to recently, I took a Jinteki deck and along with that a Kate deck. Now, having gone to the tournament and done what I wanted to do, I'm feeling like going into the next tournament, I'm probably going to bring some jank. So, I'm going to look at some janky decks, basically looking at things that are more fun to play than competitive. And with that in mind, I'm still undecided on Corp because I do love Jinteki and I love the bluffing game and I might play around with some interesting things there. But from a runner's side of things, I'm staying with Shaper, but I'm going to start playing a bit more with Kit. That's VL Kit Peddler, and she's got a really interesting ability that lets her basically turn any ice she encounters, at least first shot ice she encounters, to a certain type of ice, code gate, and then you can do some interesting things with that. She also has one of the lowest amounts of influence in the game, being able to import cards from other factions, only 10 influence.
That's quite low.
It is. She also has, though, just a nice synergy with some other cards that I've been wanting to play with. So I'm going to try and make a certain type of kit deck work. I'm not going to say too much at this point, but I'm really hoping to make it work. And if it does, then I'll be reporting on that.
Cool.
Cool. So shall I sum up? Just for those that have not got much RAM left and have filled up their memories.
I mean, just before we do, where you said about your decks, I think next time, we're going to discuss the different decks we're playing.
Yes,
with more of an idea of what we're building towards. Obviously, we'll have a few secrets in there. I'm aiming to do this kind of thing with this identity, but I'm not telling the others because Jamie will put gingerbread back in his deck.
Yes.
So we will get to this next time, and having a little bit more, probably a little bit more interesting for those that are already playing, and a nice look for those that are developing with us.
Yeah.
Into the new world of running the nets.
Yeah. So what we'd like you to do, we've got the bearded team who need a name. We have the smooth and youthful team that also need a name. I've got a slight beard, but it's mostly out of laziness.
I'm the only one out of two of us that looks old and haggard.
But how you make up for that. But yes, we'd love you to come up with some ideas for naming our teams. That would be really, really cool. And rewards will be forthcoming. And if you're just getting into this sort of thing and you've got either questions for our experts, Jamie and Joe, or if you want to discuss with myself and Aaron what it's like to be new and how to get your head around things from a new player's perspective, we're there. If you're an old hand at this, if you have run many nets, then please, if you've got any suggestions, any ideas, anything, you've got an idea roughly of how Aaron and I want to play. So if you've got any suggestions, please let us know. It'd be really cool.
If you could not help Brian and just help me and Aaron, that would be fantastic.
And if you could not help Aaron but just help me and Brian, that would be even better.
Yes, that would. And I actually am the keeper of the biscuits, just so you know.
I will buy better, fancier biscuits.
Aaron, that's a lie. Neither of us have any money. Those two have jobs.
We are Wayland. We've got the money.
Team job over there.
We are the corp.
We are the corp and you're the runners.
That's amazing. I've never been in a position of power before. I can't wait to abuse this horribly. That's what power's
for. Try and get us killed.
You'll go, oh, Brian sent us a cake. Boom. Aaron will wake up with Joe's head in a bed next to him. Not saying you're a horse.
When you weren't planning.
Excellent. So yes. Thank you very much for listening. Please get in contact, and if you want to keep sort of up to date with what we're doing, you can like and subscribe. If you know people that are also, especially if you're an existing player and you know people that are just getting into it or have shown an interest, they might find it fun to sort of play along and get involved. So please sort of share this with them. So we can hook some other people in a similar position. And we look forward to hearing from you in the comments or in all the other various places that you can get hold of us, like Twitter and all that. Look at the links below the thing. It'll be fine. Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we have been the Critical Twits. Thank you for listening to the first in our ongoing Netrunner series.
Yeah, it needs a name.
It does. Answers on a postcard, win a biscuit.
Or a tweet or a comment.
Because you don't know where we live, so postcards would be silly.
Yeah, or just write on a postcard and just throw it into the wind.
And it may find us one
if it's meant to be, it will find us.
Just put Critical Twits UK. It'll get here.
Yeah, that's fine. Or it will confuse archaeologists 100 years into the future when this cyberpunk reality has become actual reality.
We're some kind of archaic cult.
Yes. I'd love to be considered a cult by future generations. So thank you very much. I've been Brian Ennis.
I've been Aaron Vinsky.
I've been Joe Lewin.
And I've been Jamie Myland.
We have been the Critical Twits. Until next time, it's Jamie's turn to say goodbye.
Goodbye.